Very good morning, dear children. This video is for class 10 science chapter number 7 control and coordination, and this is lecture number 2. So children, as you all know that in the previous lecture we have studied about control and coordination. We have seen the introductory part of the chapter. We have also understood the structure of the nerve cell. We have understood what is a stimulus, how the various receptors are receiving the information from different sensory organs. We have also seen that various kinds of receptors that we have in our body, that also has been done. That at the end we did the structure of neuron, that is a nerve cell, and we have understood all the parts of it. So today we are going to understand synapses, and the bigger topic that we are going to cover today is nervous system. So children, you might be knowing that this chapter has been removed from the syllabus for the session 2020 and 21 because of this pandemic, but we have the clear instructions from the CBSE that each topic which relates to another topic, for that system or that connection in between the two topics, if that topic is required to be taught, then all the basic details, all the basic concept should be taught in the class. So that's why we will complete the chapter number 7 control and coordination, having a brief glance at all the parts of the human neuroendocrine system and the plant chemical coordination, that also will be done. So in today's lecture, we are going to understand the nervous system in human beings. Along with that, we'll also do some small topic which is called as synapses. Before understanding synapses, we should know what is an impulse. So children, we know that neurons, they transfer the signals from the sensory organs to brains, and from brain to the effectors. So what is that signal which is traveling inside the nerves? It is an impulse. And what is an impulse? It is a self-propagating electric current that travels from one end of a neuron to another. And for what reason? To pass the message from one part of the body to another. Now, what is the passage of this impulse? So the passage taken by impulse is that first we get the stimulus, then the electrical signal goes to dendrite, pass on to cell body, then pass on to axon, comes at the nerve endings of axon, and then it passes to synapse. Now we should understand what is a synapse. So children, we have studied that the structure of neuron or a nerve cell is like this. It is having a cell body. The projections are called as dendrites. Then we have the tube-like structure called axon, and then we have the axon terminal, or also called as nerve endings. So this is the structure of the neuron. The signals entering from the sensory organs, they enter through the dendrites. Then they pass on to the cell body, and then they go to the axon, then nerve ending. But there is a gap between the nerve ending and the dendrites of the second neuron which follows it. So this gap between the nerve endings of the first neuron and the dendrites of the second neuron is called the synapses. So this is basically a narrow gap, and this narrow gap is filled with some kind of fluid. So what happens that we got an electric signal. The signal traveled from the dendrite to the terminal, axon terminal, and then this electrical signal is being converted into chemical signal here at the synapses. And then chemical signal is passed on the dendrites of the second neuron. Then again it comes into the form of electrical signal, and the same process goes on. This is how the impulses are passed from the sensory organs to the brain. The next topic that we have to study is the nervous system in humans. So nervous system basically controls and regulates all the functions happening inside the human beings. Nervous system is composed of two parts, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. They both consist of varieties of nerves, but central nervous system is having this name because it is present on the central axis of the body, and the peripheral nervous system is on the peripheries of the body. So central nervous system is further divided into two parts, brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system, they have further been divided into various kinds of nerves. The nerves can be on the basis of different criteria, they can be of different types. So nerves can be of two types, cranial nerves and spinal nerves, on the basis that from where they take up the signal and where they drop the signal. So cranial nerves are the nerves which take up the signal from brain and gives to another parts of the body. Then spinal nerves are the one which takes up the signal from the spinal and they give it either to the brain or to the peripheral nervous system. Then we have nerves on the basis of action that they perform. On the basis of action they perform, nerves can be of two types, somatic or autonomic. Somatic, they are also called as voluntary, and autonomic, they are also called as involuntary. Then autonomic are further divided into sympathetic nerves and parasympathetic nerves. We can also define voluntary or somatic nervous system as the system that performs the activities under the direct control of our will. It consists of the nerves that are directly coming from the central nervous system, connecting different parts of the body, and they are consciously controlled by the brain. Then we have the involuntary nervous system, the system that performs the activities for which will is not consulted, but they are happening inside the body under a different system. They are controlled by themselves, but we cannot control them by our wish. So here we can have examples like somatic nervous system, like we are speaking something, we are writing, we are walking on a road, we are doing some particular work, that all these things are happening according to our wish. Even if we want to move our hand, so that is also a voluntary application or voluntary action. Under autonomic nervous system, we can have the examples like the circulatory system, the nutrition, the respiration that occurs inside the body, and the transport that is happening inside the body. All these actions are involuntary and autonomic. The blood is doing all these activities, but the brain is controlling them. So this involuntary action of the nerves is further divided into two parts, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic nervous system or sympathetic involuntary actions of the nerves are indicating the energizing process of the body. That means in which we have to expand the energy of the body. So there is a expansion of energy. Parasympathetic ones, they are performing the function of relaxing the body. So if we talk about the work done by the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system regarding some of the parts of the body. So here we have some of the differences between the two, that how these two are doing the work. So if we talk about the pupils, sympathetic nervous system has to increase the energy of the body. So it dilates the pupil so that more amount of light can enter into the eye. But parasympathetic does the work opposite to the sympathetic nervous system. So it constricts the pupil. Whenever there is a need to decrease the amount of the energy in the body, or there is a requirement of relaxing the body. If we talk about heart, pumping action of heart, then heartbeat increases in case of sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic ones decreases the heartbeat. Gallbladder gets relaxed, gets contract in parasympathetic nervous system. Blood pressure increases in sympathetic one and decreases in parasympathetic nervous system. Salivary glands, the secretion by the salivary glands is inhibited in sympathetic nervous system and is being stimulated by parasympathetic nervous system. Bronchi. Here in the sympathetic nervous system they relax so that more gas exchange can take place. Here they constrict because less amount of energy is required. Sweat glands. Secretion of sweat is increased. Here the secretion by the sweat glands is decreased. So this is how these two work in coordination according to the requirements of the body. So along with this we have completed the peripheral nervous system. Now let us see the central nervous system, which is comprising of brain and spinal cord. So brain, it is the widest and the uppermost part of the central nervous system, and it is the thinking part of the human nervous system. It is made up of three parts: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain is further divided into three parts: cerebrum, diencephalon and olfactory. Midbrain is a single part, and then we have the hindbrain, which is again divided into three parts: cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. Here we have the diagram of the human brain. It shows the structure of the brain. So here this biggest portion of the brain is called as forebrain. It is having cerebrum. So most of the forebrain is cerebrum only. Then we have the hypothalamus and the thalamus also. So this comes under the, so these two parts are also coming under the forebrain. So we have cerebrum, diencephalon, and then we have the olfactory lobes which are present in the inside of the cerebrum. Then we have the midbrain, this one, and then we have this portion which you are able to see. This is called as cerebellum. Here we have the pons, and this one is the medulla, and this nerve is called as spinal cord. This spinal cord further increases in the vertebrate column, and the vertebrate column protects the spinal cord which is present in the vertebrate column. Now you must be able to see that there is a covering over the brain, because brain is a very delicate part of our body. So there is a need to give it a protection, which is given with the help of the outer bony portion, which is also called as skull. But so this cranium is the skull, but as this is the bony part and brain is very delicate, so it can also provide harms to the brain, and the brain will not be properly functioning if it is getting damaged with the help by the cranium or the skull. So there is a fluid, or there is a cushion in between the cranium and the brain, which is called as cranium meninges. Cranium meninges are the three different layers which are providing or which are protecting the brain from getting any damage or from getting any shock. And in between these layers, cranium meninges, there is one fluid which is called as cerebrospinal fluid. Now let us understand the functions of each part of the brain. So first we should talk about the forebrain. Forebrain is having three parts, and the first is cerebrum. So cerebrum is making almost 70 to 80% part of the brain, and it performs various functions like thinking part, memory development, taking sensory impulses as an input, and it provides them to the brain. It also controls hunger, and almost all the voluntary actions are controlled by the cerebrum. Cerebrum is further divided into 4 different lobes, which are called as frontal lobe, then we have parietal lobe, then we have temporal and occipital lobe. So these are the 4 parts of the cerebrum which perform different functions, but the common functions are given here. So cerebrum generally controls the voluntary actions. Midbrain. Midbrain is the mid part of the brain present in between the cerebrum and the hindbrain. Midbrain generally performs involuntary action control. Then the function of hindbrain are depending upon which part is performing that function. So first is cerebellum. Cerebellum controls our postures and it maintains the balance, because of which we are able to draw a straight line, to write in a particular manner, to control or to walk on a straight line. So all these actions are maintained by the cerebellum of hindbrain. Then regulation of voluntary actions is done by cerebellum only. Then second part is pons. Regulation of respiration is specially performed by the hindbrain, and in pons it has been regulated because it is an involuntary action that is being controlled by the help of pons present in the hindbrain. Then we have the medulla oblongata. It controls the involuntary actions. For example, salivation on seeing some food item, maintaining the blood pressure, sneezing, coughing, vomiting. All these are involuntary actions maintained, regulated and controlled by medulla oblongata. So here we can conclude that the forebrain controls the voluntary actions mostly, and the midbrain and hindbrain, they combinedly control and regulate the involuntary and voluntary actions. This is the top view of our brain, that if brain is seen from the top view, then it looks like that brain has been divided into 2 different parts, the right one and the left one. Now these 2 portions are having 4 different pores, as we are able to see the forebrain only. So if this is the side of our eyes, that means a person who is standing keeping his face in this direction, and his brain is viewed by the top view, and this is the right portion of his brain and this is the left portion of his brain, then these can be the lobes of the forebrain. This is the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe and this is occipital lobe. Now these two parts of the brain, they perform differently because the left part is responsible for the facts, creating memories, intelligence, mathematics that we do or the calculations that we do, some kind of learning process and analysis. All are done with the help of left part of the brain. Then the right part is performing various things like creativity or some kind of art. Emotions, feelings are shown by the right portion of the brain. Imaginations are also performed by the right portion of the brain. Then we have intuitions. What are intuitions? That sometimes we feel what is going to happen with us, whether it will be bad, whether it will be good. So future indication is called as intuition. So these two parts are working differently. They have a different area in which they work efficiently. So we can say that these two parts are comprising of different functions. But the left part of the brain controls the right part of the body and the right part controls the left part of the body. So they are converting the opposite parts of the body for various voluntary and involuntary functions. Then the next part is spinal cord. Spinal cord is a delicate cord. Spinal cord is a long, narrow, cylindrical structure enclosed within the vertebral column. It begins in the continuation with the medulla oblongata and it comes downward in the vertebral column. It is also surrounded by the meninges, and here also one fluid is there between the different layers of meninges so that they can protect the spinal cord from a shock. And what are the functions of spinal cord? That it behaves as an intermediate between the brain and the body, that it passes the impulses from the body to the brain and from the brain towards the body parts. It also acts on reflex actions, or it also controls the reflex actions. Now we should understand what is a reflex action. Before understanding what is reflex action of the body, first we should understand that how many types of responses our body parts are giving to the sensory organs or for the stimulus. So we have voluntary actions which are done by our will. Involuntary actions which are not under our control, they are done by the brain and the spinal cord by itself. Then we have the reflex action. So reflex action is basically a very quick action performed by the body part, and let us see how it is being performed. So children, here one diagram is given in your NCERT book at page number 117. This shows the reflex action taken by the body parts. So what happens? Sometimes when we touch any hot object, then what happens? Because we have already studied that there are various kinds of nerves. We have sensory nerves which take up the input or the sense or the stimulus from the body part to the brain, are called as sensory neurons. Then brain interprets and then provides the signal to the motor nerves. Motor nerves, they take the signal from the brain or spinal cord towards the effector. What is effector? That has to respond against the stimulus. So in this case, which has been given to us here, when the hand touches any hot object, then what happens? That spontaneous heat is taken up by the skin, because skin is having the receptors in it. We have also studied about receptors. So the receptors, they take up the heat, and the sensory neurons, they take this message to the spinal cord. Now, reflex action is the message or the decision taken by the spinal cord so that it can protect the hand from burning. So it's a very quick action. So here, what the spinal cord does, although brain has to perform all the activities, but in case of the emergencies, spinal cord is having that authority that it can make the decision on the basis of brain. So here, what the spinal cord is doing, spinal cord has made a decision that we have to remove the hand from this position. So, with the help of relay neurons, what is being done? The information coming from the sensory neurons is being transferred to the relay neurons, and from relay neurons to motor neurons. And motor neurons, they take up the signal, the message to the muscles or the effectors. So now the muscles has got the signal that they have to move the hand as a result of reflex action. So reflex action can be defined as a sudden, automatic and immediate mechanical action in response to a stimulus. So what was the stimulus here? The heat given up by the object. So it's an involuntary response. We are not controlling it by ourselves, and the pathway taken up by the stimulus to reach to the spinal cord, and then that message is being interpreted and coming back with the help of motor neurons to the effectors. This pathway taken up is called as reflex arc. So the diagram that is there in your NCERT book showing reflex arc is the pathway taken up by the impulses. Another examples can be blinking of eyes, sneezing, coughing, touching any hot or cold object, or if we get some prick in any of the body parts. So this kind of reflex action will take place, because this action is very quick and this is done, or this decision is made by the spinal cord and not by the brain. But the signal is also sent to the brain so that it can create facts and it can increase its intelligence. The homework for today's lecture is, what is the difference between a reflex action and walking? Question number 2 is, what happens at synapse between the two neurons? Or what is the role of synapse between the two neurons? Question number 3 is, which part of the brain maintains posture and equilibrium or balance in the body? Question number 4 is, how do we detect the smell of an agarbatti or incense stick? Question number 5 is, what is the role of brain in reflex action? So you have to write down the answers of all these 5 questions, and the homework solution of the previous lecture will be discussed in the class. So we'll see you in the next lecture of this chapter, in which we'll do the coordination in plants and the endocrine system of the humans, that is chemical coordination of the humans. So that we are going to do in the next lecture. Till then, take care and goodbye.